Hi, thank you for joining us. Today with us, we have Angeline Gavino, the Vice President of Customer Success at Katalon. How are you doing today?
Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Vietnam. We really appreciate you taking your time on this late evening to chat. Why don't you go ahead and tell us, who you are, what you do, and your path to becoming a CS leader?
Sure. Well, as you rightly mentioned, I'm currently the vice president at Katalon, and I have been doing customer success since 2010, really. And back then, my role wasn't even called customer success yet. But really, I started from an individual contributor to managing teams, ultimately leading entire CS departments, and then also eventually leading other adjacent client-facing teams such as managed services and customer support. Collectively, I do have 17 of years of experience in the B2B SaaS industry, 11 years of which are in leadership roles. And in the past 8 or so years, I've been primarily working at startups in various stages of growth.
Mhm. I also
Yeah,
noticed you're part of the Women's Success Network. Is that correct?
yes,
Why
that's
don't you tell
right.
us a little bit about that?
Well, actually, there's a couple of them. There is a woman in customer success and there is a woman of customer
Oh,
success, but all of these are organizations of customer success professionals, women customer success professionals, and really it's to create a space for women in the industry to network, to learn from each other. So the members of this group are from really from individual contributors to leaders as well. So I think it's a good opportunity for anybody to just learn from each other or learn what's up and coming in the space.
yeah, I love it. I love how you're building a community and part of that, and you're helping, mold where we go in this genre of work. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you would recommend in the first 100 days as a leader in CS?
Okay, that's a very good question. And so for any customer success leader, right, you are when you come into a new organization, it's probably either you're the first hire, because here's what I've seen, right? A head, a VP, or leader of customer success could mean really very different things depending on the size or maturity of the company that you're joining. For others, like I said, it could be you're the first hire, so you need to build and start the team from scratch. And other organizations, that means that you are inheriting a team that already exists, that has existing processes, tools in place. And so really specifically, that could mean a lot of things differently. And I've worked at 4 different startups in the past 8 years, and it's either I'm the first one building the CS team, or I've inherited a team. But fundamentally, I really believe that it doesn't change much what you do on a day to day, or at least in the first 30, 60, 90 days. Um, because at the essence of it, what you really want to drive is that first off, you are understanding what are the existing processes in place. I like to work or look at it in people process technology. I like to get an understanding of what are the existing people, the teams. It may not be a formal customer success team. In a new startup, it means that maybe sales is doing some portion of customer success. But I want to understand who are the existing people that is currently servicing your end customers. I need to understand process. Is there any kind of process in place? What has been done so far? What are the challenges? What are the gaps? I want to understand that early on, before jumping into anything. And then technology. What are the tools that you have in place, etc. Like what have the organization has invested in. So I like to get a lay of the ground in the first 30 days. And in some instances, that could mean I'm meeting the new team. Um, and then I'm getting to know the processes, et cetera, like I mentioned. And so that's one aspect of the first 30 days. But there's a lot of getting to know that happens in the first 30 days. So as I mentioned, getting to know the people, process, technology in place, understanding the company goals. What is the charter of customer success in this organization? Is there a charter? Um, just to understand what I can work with and what I have to work with. I need to understand the lay of the land. Who are the other teams? I like to meet the product team, support team if that's something that exists or something different. I like to meet the sales team, the marketing team. So meeting the existing team, the cross-functional teams that collectively makes up the organization. And so, like I said, a lot of getting to know. I want, if possible, to also start meeting customers already in your first 30 days. You understand who are the existing customers, maybe do a listening tour, just join calls of your sales team or any existing client-facing teams that you have. And the end goal of that first 30 days is that I'm getting to know what's happening, the lay of the land, as I mentioned, so that I can create an immediate impact. You want to deliver a quick win by the first 30 days. Like, what is something that you have identified that you can easily resolve, a low-hanging fruit, basically.
Mhm.
So for the first 30 days, there's 4 weeks in that. So that's a lot to do in the first 30 days. Now,
Absolutely, yeah.
right. And then 30, 90 days is when I actually start to work on my analysis, on gap analysis, improvement analysis, opportunity analysis to understand what should we do? How do we plan this? If that is, I have to build everything from scratch based on what I learned from the customers, from the cross-functional team, and the existing team that is servicing the customer. I need to draft like an initial understanding of, okay, what are the things I need to focus on? If that means I'm inheriting an existing team, I need to understand what was wrong or what was the challenge that they're having, and start to come up with my plan that I will deliver, let's say, for the first year that I'm in the company. So the first 30 days is getting the lay of the land. Second 30 days, so basically 30 to 60 days, is understanding, coming up with a plan. And really 60 to 90 days is when you lay the groundwork for your plan. You like to start on the foundational aspects of your plan so that you build on top of that as you continue, throughout your stay in the company. So yeah, I did a long-winded answer there, but at the crux of it, it's getting the lay of the land at the beginning, understand existing team, cross-functional team goals, any processes and tools in place to be able to deliver a quick win in the first 30 days, the first month, and then follow that up with your analysis, create a plan, and start executing on the plan on the third month.
That is a fantastic answer. I can tell you've done this a bunch before and you know exactly what to do. After your first 100 days, right now, what is your current strategy?
Okay, so our customer success team actually used to be revenue generating. So we were at the phase in our revenue growth where our teams were still able to handle revenue generation and the value outcomes delivery. So from the moment that I joined Katalon up until early this year, my team is a quota carrying team. Now, as we grow, we're scaling up. We realize that it's time to specialize. We need to have the sales team continue with commercial conversations so the customer success team can focus on like the value delivery. And so the key focus right now for us is how do we ensure the charter of customer success is retention? How do we ensure retention so that we're able to scale our revenue? Because like I said, we're growing now. As a company grows, right? If you look at the revenue, like just the dollars in proportion to your overall ARR as a company,
And what does
the
ARR
churn,
mean?
the annual recurring revenue,
Hmm.
right? It looks as it scales, the number scales up to like the churn number scales up, and oftentimes that looks like a lot. If you look at, let's say, let's illustrate an example. A 15% churn on a 1 billion ARR company is significantly higher than a 20% churn on a 50 million dollar company. So you
Hmm.
kind of see what I'm trying to get at. As we scale up, we understand that we need to focus more on retention and have our CSMs aligned to retention for us to build that sustainable growth. And so that's our key of focus today. And a lot of the motions that we have to do are, what normal customer success motions do. We're trying to improve our sales to CS handoff. We're trying to improve our whole customer journey. And we're also trying to improve our digital success strategy. I know you said focus, but it really there's a lot of different things. But basically, those are the themes that is driving the customer success area of focus. Focus and retention by focusing on improving our processes and playbooks and our digital CS strategy. I think that is the more concise way to answer that question that you have
Awesome.
right
And
there.
would you say you measure the success of these programs by retention and by revenue, or is there more to it than
Right.
that?
Both, both,
Both.
both. Well, our North Star metrics has always been NRR as a
Yep.
company. We've always aligned ourselves to the business the business goals, right? And so those, obviously, from a customer success perspective, and really in order to meet the business goals, there are leading metrics that allows us to understand where are we going to land by the end of a quarter, for example.
Hmm.
And so with that in mind, we also do measure value delivery or outcomes. So we'll look at other metrics like usage, engagement, customer satisfaction, to be able to really guide us as to where are we within the quarter. We do have retention and NRR targets. How are we on track to receive or achieving those basically, and that helps guide us.
And you mentioned your team has quotas. Yeah, I haven't talked to somebody who
Right.
has quotas before, so maybe they just bring it up. Can you tell me more about how those quotas work? And you say, as you grow and you scale, right, they're going less and less from revenue generating to just more support and retention. So how does that quota change when you flip the model from
Hmm.
to retention, right? How do you evaluate the retention? Is it just how many of their clients they keep, or dive into that a little bit more?
Okay, that's a good question, right? So, when we talk about quotas, when they were carrying the expansion number, we are focused on net revenue retention, which is how efficient are we both at retaining customers and expanding our existing customer
Hmm.
base. Now we've moved the charter to really just focus on retention, so that as we scale up as a company, as I mentioned earlier as well, we are not losing our focus that retention still is key for us to expand, right? Because if we're losing customers, we lose all the future expansion opportunities that come with that.
Hmm.
So that being said, when we look at quota, my team's quota right now is really the retention. They have a portfolio of customers that they have. How many percent of the ARR have they retained
Hmm.
uh, in a specific period? So like I said, really it's simple math.
Yeah.
Let's say at the start of, well, how much of the ARR has been retained compared to the beginning of a certain period of time?
Okay, that makes total sense. Thank you for diving into that. Do you have any pain points when you're leading a CS team?
Well, there's a lot. I'm sure you talk to there's no absence of pains when it comes there are growing pains, of course, right? And also because, right, you are servicing customers, you are looking after also your team as a CS leader, and you have to also be accountable for goals that ties directly to the overall business goals, right? You need to help your company grow. And so I can mention so many different challenges, any of that. But I think if there's one thing that I am personally experiencing right now, it's data. We have difficulty with um, getting access to the data, and not just getting access, getting the right data in front of our people, but not in front of the CSMs, so that they are able to take action. And why do we want to have the right data at the right time, exposed to the right people? It allows us to prioritize our work, because as we scale, our customer scale, and for me, and I'm sure for a lot of CS leaders, to be efficient, you don't scaling your CSMs doesn't mean you need to add more CSMs. Over time, you have to be able to service a certain number of customers without constantly having to hire just additional CSMs to
Mhm.
service like the new customers that come in. And for us, the key to really be able to scale up is data. And there's a lot of things data can do for us. Like for our high touch CSMs, it's about how do we help them prioritize their work? How do we help them make decisions based on the data and act based on the data? And on the other side, for our digital CS engagement or emotion, how do we leverage data to automate our engagement with our long tail segment? How do we ensure that the customer journey for our long tail is efficient, but and also still personalized? Doesn't look like there's a robot talking to a
Hmm.
customer or an AI talking to customer. So we want that personalization at scale for our long tail. So I feel like is a good. I think a good answer is like just data, because it having more access to data actually solves a lot of the challenges that we do have today.
And when you say data, it's such a broad term, right? Are we talking specifically about the
Right.
data you use to measure your success, or is there other data out there?
Well, customer data in general,
Hmm.
how are customer, we want to understand that how are customers using our product? How are customers interfacing with us, with any of our materials out there? How they're interfacing with our website? How do they access our materials? Do they go to our community? Our community portal? Do they go to our academy, which is our training portal? We want to get a holistic picture of how are they interacting with us, not just with a CSM, not just with a person, but to our digital assets and other engagements on our product as well. Because in order for us to understand like what they're doing, like I mentioned, it allows us to also understand, are they on the right track? Could they be seeing value? Could they be churning because maybe we didn't enable them enough, we didn't provide the right resources to them at the right time, so they stop using the product at some point. So you're right, data is so big, but I think primarily it's around customer data that I'm really looking for to empower my teams to be more efficient and to service our customers better.
Yeah, it kind of gives them a snapshot of where that customer is before the phone call even happens and saves a lot of frustration from that customer having to explain it all, which I think is great.
Exactly.
That's great. Do you have a specific example of utilizing customer feedback to improve your company?
Oh, that is a good question. Um, right now we measure CSAT because, and typically the questions around our CSAT survey is understanding their satisfaction with our product. Are
Hmm.
they meeting are our products meeting their needs, their use cases? And so I collaborate with our product team to make sure that they have access to this data that will help them um, understand what the end users are saying on the ground and hopefully be able to take action as well. So that was one. Um, we use feedback to help improve our product. We also have other surveys that ask the customer about their overall experience with us. So we have an onboarding survey, for example, where we just want to understand, did they feel like they had the help they need during onboarding? Were we able to provide the resources to help them get started on our product? Like just an overall satisfaction on the onboarding experience. And the end goal is for us to always understand how to improve onboarding, because for us it's like a very critical step in the customer journey. When they sign up with us, we need to make sure that they're set up for success in like the first, I mean, any organization, first month if possible, because that's what sets the tone for the rest of the partnership with the customer. So we use a lot of customer feedback to inform us of how we could improve our processes, but then also improve the product.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, when you're doing all this, how do you get buy-in from the C-suite?
That is a very good question. You have to speak the language of the C-suite, right? Talking to a CRO, CFO, even CEO, they
And
want
those are
number,
the chief revenue officer, the chief financial officer, and the
the
chief executive
financial.
officer. Yeah. Usually the big
Exactly.
three at any company. Yeah.
Exactly. They're going to care about our numbers.
Yeah.
And that's why I've aligned my customer success team to the company goal, to the revenue, so they can directly see the impact of the team in terms that they understand and metrics that they understand. Because if I just start, I'm not specifically talking to my C-suite, because to be fair, they totally understand the importance of CX, yes.
Hmm.
So I think that's one hurdle, one challenge that I actually don't have, that some other CS leaders have. They already understand the importance of a good customer experience and, good, like a customer success strategy. But I do believe that in a lot of cases, right, if I talk to them about, product adoption, like it doesn't translate to, at the end of the day, money, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what they how does it translate to us growing our revenue? And so whenever I need to get buy-in, I always come in with like the numbers. How do I believe that can impact the bottom line? And it doesn't we've already set the systems in place that allow us to really track what our CSMs are doing and how that translates to the impact to the revenue goals. So it's always, I think, like as I mentioned, speaking the language of the C-suite, speaking the language of revenue helps you make your case. But also, that's why I like data, because I personally am a I rely so much on data. I don't believe it if there's no data on it. Or I mean, people tend to not believe something they don't see real data that
Hmm.
it happened. So always coming armed with data is very helpful. Um, I would say those are the two things.
Hmm.
Always tie. How do it ties back? How does this tie back to company goals, revenue, and what's the data saying?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What do you think is the future of customer success?
Oh my, that's a very good question. AI.
Hmm.
Isn't everybody talking about AI since ChatGPT? Um, I do believe that we have just begun tapping um, the potential of AI in CX and CS. And I believe that AI can open a lot of doors for us to personalize our engagement with our customers, to empower our team with better information. So for me, AI is just going to augment the data. I already spoke earlier about how data is so important for me personally, but I think really in any organization, it should be the one helping you drive a lot of your decisions, right? You need to understand the data. And with AI helping you analyze those data, I feel like there's a lot of things that can be done. We already know generative AI, uh, machine learning, NLP. I feel like that's all going to just augment the people and really be able to do maybe I don't know 100 times what they're doing today. I maybe that's like in the far future, but I just really believe that it's going to empower the people to be more efficient at their jobs, and especially when we talk about predictive analytics, like all those things that AI, fancy things that AI can do. I think really that's the future of CX. How are we going to be able to leverage AI to augment customer experience and to help the people servicing the end customers?
That makes total sense. How can we learn more about you and follow your career?
Oh, well, yes. Well, everybody can find me on LinkedIn, search for my name, Angeline Grace Gavino. And yes, you can find me there and feel free to follow me or connect with me. I do post a lot about my views on customer success. And yeah, I'll be happy to connect with you guys there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. Have a great
You too.
time. Have a good rest of the day.